Chapter 8. The Infinite Lineup, the Grand Integration. The arena, the Great Convergence. The physical world had dissolved. Kai wasn't just in one place, she was in the source. The arena was a geographical impossibility. A bay where the volcanic black sands of Tahiti met the white powder of Waikiki, framed by the red cliffs of Australia and the emerald peaks of Kauai. The sound was a symphony of the world's oceans. The deep, tectonic boom of Tihupao's reef mixed with the high-pitched hiss of the Mediterranean and the rhythmic crack of the Atlantic. There were no plastic flags or metal bleachers. The referees were the elements themselves. An old sea turtle surfaced to mark the peak, and a pair of albatrosses circled above, their wings cutting the air with a whistling sound that signaled the start of the final heat. One, the heart of Hawaii, Duke Kahanemoku. Duke sat at the point, the place where the first ripples of energy arrived. The vibe was solid gold. The sound was the steady, heartbeat-like thrum of a large wooden drum. Welcome home, Kai. Duke's voice was like the sound of a calm tide. He represented the foundation, the belief that the ocean is a sanctuary, not a stadium. He sat on an olo board that smelled of ancient forests and kukui oil. He was the anchor of the soul. 2. The Indonesian dream, Jerry Lopez. 10 yards further out, where the wave began to wall up into a perfect cylinder, was Jerry. The vibe was indigo zen. The sound was a single, sustained note from a Tibetan singing bowl. Jerry sat in the impact zone with a tranquility that defied physics. He represented the transition from strength to grace. The tube is a hallway between worlds, Kai, he whispered. Walk through it with a quiet heart. 3. The Australian grit, Lane Beachley, where the wave hit the bowl and grew into a vertical wall of power. Lane was waiting. The vibe was electric orange. The sound was the raw, distorted growl of an electric guitar echoing off the limestone cliffs of Bell's Beach. Don't you dare hesitate, she shouted, her voice cutting through the spray. She represented the fire, the refusal to let any loop of society define her limits. 4. The scientific peak, Kelly Slater. In the most technical section of the wave, where the water moved with the fastest frequency, sat Kelly. The vibe was silver precision. The sound was a rhythmic, high-tech pulse, the ping of a sonar. Kelly wasn't just sitting, he was observing the microvortices in the water. Adapt or fade, Kai, he said, his eyes scanning the horizon for the next shift in the code. He was the bridge to the future. 5. The North Shore Intuition, John Florence. Further out in the wild, where the current was strongest, was John. The vibe was deep cobalt. The sound was the whistling wind and the cry of the iwa bird. He sat in a state of hyper-awareness, his body vibrating with the pulse of the reef. The ocean isn't outside of you, he said softly. It's the blood in your veins. He was the master of the unseen. 6. The California Glide, Rob Machado. In the playground section, where the waves slowed down and invited creativity, was Rob. The vibe was honey amber. The sound was an acoustic folk melody, light and breezy. He was doing a hand jive with the water, his board drifting effortlessly. The best surfer is the one who finds the rhythm of the joy, he laughed. He was the guardian of the spirit. 7. The Titan of Maui, Laird Hamilton. Way out past the second reef, where the monsters lived, Laird stood on his foil. The vibe was titanium gray. The sound was the thunder of an avalanche. He was the sentinel, the man who tamed the giants. Your fear is your fuel, he roared. Burn it and be free. 8. The Trickster, Sterling Spencer. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a ridiculous sound, a rubber duck squeaking. Sterling Spencer paddled into the middle of the legends, wearing a crown made of driftwood. The vibe was neon pink. I just checked the scores, Sterling announced with a wink. The referees that Turtle and the Bird say I'm winning by 1 billion points because my hair looks the best in the spray. Relax, everyone. It's just water. The laughter that followed was the medicine. Sterling brought the most important element, the ability to not take the sovereignty too seriously. He reminded Kai that the loop can be broken with a joke. 9. The French powerhouse, Johann de Fay. Sitting at the most critical takeoff spot was Johann de Fay. The vibe was island strength. The sound was the rhythmic slap of the Indian Ocean hitting the rocks of Reunion Island. Johann represented the modern woman, strong, humble, and incredibly powerful. Her surfing was a clean line through a messy world. Take the peak, Kai, she said, her voice steady and encouraging. You've earned the priority. 10. The Queen of Nazaré, Justine Dupont. And there, on a wave that looked like a moving skyscraper of white foam, was Justine. The vibe was ice white and midnight blue. The sound was the deafening crack of a mountain collapsing. Justine moved with a courage that was quiet and absolute. She represented the ultimate frontier, the woman who had conquered the dark loop of fear. She nodded to Kai, a silent acknowledgement between warriors. The horizon is only a limit if you stop paddling. The final ride, the integration. The sea turtle referee dove deep. The albatrosses let out a piercing cry. The set of a lifetime approached, a wave that carried the DNA of every ocean Kai had visited. Go, all the legends shouted at once. Kai turned. She didn't feel the weight of the koa, the needle of the bolt, or the machine of the foil. She felt a total integration. As she dropped in, she heard Duke's aloha in her heartbeat, Jerry's silence in her breath, Lane's will in her legs, Kelly's precision in her rail, John's pulse in her intuition, Rob's joy in her style, Laird's courage in her soul, Sterling's laughter in her mind, Johann and Justine's power in her stance. She entered a tube that lasted for an eternity. Inside, She saw the loop of her life, all the routines, the doubts, and the walls shatter into a million sparkling diamonds of sea spray. She emerged into a world of pure light, a place where the journey and the destination were the same thing.